Your beasts are here for the purpose of adding balance to the universe. They are here to enhance your experience. Their greatest value is not the food that they offer you. Their greatest value is that they emanate predominantly positive energy. They focus in the moment. They are eternally looking for the positive aspects, and they are gloriously oozing positive emotion, which adds to the balance of your universe. Esther Hicks and Abraham.
Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I'm a success coach, speaker, and business consultant, and my husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time 10 years ago. We moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we never even been here. But we made it, and now we're living our best lives. And all along on our journey, I've said that someday when we get our quote-unquote shit together, we will help others. And since then, we've both done a lot of self-work and built successful businesses. So that day is here, and one of my ways of paying it forward is through this podcast. Each week, my intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life and make an impact. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I am super excited that you are joining me this week. I have a very special guest. Her name is Kathleen Nightingale, and she helps spiritual animal lovers who want to heal and grow. She helps them by connecting with animals through animal communication, as well as using guided meditation and tools for life. Kathleen is a lifelong animal lover, life coach, and energy healer, and she has developed her gift of receiving messages from animals that are alive or in spirit to help people connect with them for better understanding, as well as life-changing inspirational messages. And she has her own Animal Angel Academy, which provides online programs for emotional healing and learning how to intuitively connect with animals. Welcome, Kathleen. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes. So, but before we dive into the reading that you just did on my baby Miracle, which is one of my 3 little Shih Tzus, why don't you share with the audience a little bit about your background and how you developed this gift and how you share it with the world?
Well, animals have been a huge part of my life. But when I was born, not to go back to birth, but, we had a puppy when I was born and I grew up with her. And, my dad used to say I carried a bag of diapers under one arm and a bag of dog food under the other.
Oh my gosh.
But I've had horses and goats and chickens and cats and dogs and, pretty much fish, birds, everything. And realized, through my corporate years and then getting into spirituality, how strong my connection was, and then learning to develop those gifts. And people around me, other kind of spiritual healers and entrepreneurs would say, you really need to be focusing on animals. That's you. It took me a while to get the message, but I'm like, okay, I'm finally gonna embrace this, and really dig into it. And I kind of amaze myself at sometimes with messages that come up, because it's not about, people wonder if their dog doesn't like their dog food or something. But it comes down to much more profound messages, and also connecting with animals in spirit, because people, when they lose their animal, they can really struggle with grief, sometimes for years. They may have had a horse that they had for 30 years or a dog that was their best friend, that unconditional love, kind of like what was expressed in the quote. And the healing can be really profound when we receive messages from them, and they can actually be really great life coaches for us because they have so much insight into who we are. I really see them as angels and guides, and that's what my next book is about.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. How did you first start to receive messages from animals though? Was it just by, like, I don't want a word to use mistake, but I can't think of a better word, like happenstance, like it just came to, like,
I think
share a little.
I think I've always been tuning in, and then just went, um, in recent years, more dealing with other people and their animals and trusting. The first thing we have to do with animal communication is really trust the message, because when you don't know someone and you don't know their animal, and you have to really trust the messages you're getting. So I think learning to kind of trust myself, and embracing the gift. And even a friend said recently, like, seriously, how do you talk to dead animals? Getting past, well, it's the energy, they have a soul like we do. And whether you're connecting to a soul that's in a body or not in a body, it's still the same connection, really. So some people have a hard time embracing it. So I think I had to get past my own fear of rejection around who I am.
Uh-huh.
And yeah. And then once you can do that, then you can really develop your gift more.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this? Like
Well,
providing it as a coach, like as a service is a better way.
well, I've been doing coaching, and I was a clinical hypnotherapist for years, but I've been just gradually in recent years adding it in,
Okay.
making it more predominant. I was, for a while, I was working on animals, so like with equine, horse massage and energy healing. And then I realized that in the animal communication, it was kind of mind, body, spirit work with animals, but then realizing that I was beginning to help people more so, really,
Mhm.
through the animal communication.
Wow. And
So,
yeah,
yeah.
and when I came across your name, which was through Joanna Hunter, which was she was on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and she mentioned you, I believe, in a Facebook Live or one of something. She mentioned your name, and I immediately was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally believe." Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, I believe in all sorts of tools and spiritual modalities. And I had a reading with a medium months
Mhm.
ago, and one of the things she pulled through was our family dog from when it was really my parents' dog, but I
Mhm.
loved her and took care of her as well because I was a young adult at the time. So I wasn't in the same house when, they had her. I was already graduated and off from college. But
Mhm.
so it was fascinating and I believed that. And then, I've just had lots of other experiences too. So I definitely believe that, like, animals have souls and can communicate. So it's just, it's really cool and amazing that you're sharing your gift with everyone and can really help people. So it's very, very awesome. Now
Realize
oh, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I realized more and more over the years that I just talk to animals more than people. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine months ago, and she's like, "Let's face it, Kathleen, you're just not a people person."
You know what? And I wish more people, well, I'm going to put it this way. More people are starting to own that. That's how I'm going to
Yeah.
say it. My friend
Yes.
that was here this weekend that we just briefly chatted about because she lives in Arizona as well as you do, she saw us talking to our dogs and she used to have a dog and she used to talk to her dog. So we were like laughing and I don't care. Like, I don't care if I'm walking up and down my street, walking my dogs and talking to them. I'm 49. I could give a shit anymore. Right. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, like dogs are often better, or any animal, let's just say, than people are sometimes. So
Yeah. My
there's
horse
nothing
looks
wrong
at
with
me
that.
like, yeah, my horse looks at me like, whatever, just give me my hay, you jabber on, carry on.
What are some messages you get from your own animals? And I know you just shared that you have a new cute little dog named Molly. So what
Yeah.
are some things that you get as messages for yourself?
Well, yeah, sometimes I tune in. I'm trying to think. I'm so used to lately focusing on everybody else's
Yeah.
animals, but um, you know, I have a horse that I rescued about 6 months ago from a rescue, and he's 23. But you know, and I get into the energy healing aspect, that, you know, the whole connection between mind, body, soul,
Mhm.
and he's had laminitis issues, which is really rough on horses. It's in the hooves, and fear, you know, I get the fear from him, and he's had a rough past at times. So in regards to him anyway, it's been helping him to heal the fear that can help increase the blood flow and help him physically, because it's fear. It can be clamping down, I should say, on the blood flow. That's a whole other story, but that's what came to mind when you asked me that question. Is recently it's been working with him on his issues, because he was hard to adopt out. But with other people and their animals, I get a lot more into what the animal wants to tell them.
Mhm. And what have been some of those things as an example?
Um, well, I was working with a woman who has, you know, a couple of dogs and a horse as well. And the horse, for example, was they're all in spirit, I should say. All the animals had passed away.
Okay.
And this beautiful white horse, you know, I could see it prancing around, and it's like, it was like a feeling of not arrogance, but confidence, and wanting her to feel as confident within herself. And this horse loved to be groomed. I go, she loved to be groomed, didn't she? Oh yeah, I used to do this, that, and the other. And I said, the message is, are you taking care of yourself as much as you took care of her? Um, and
Wow.
no was
Mm.
the answer. You
Mm.
know, so the message is, she wanted her to feel, to recognize her beauty, to feel confident within herself, to um, groom herself, take care of yourself, get a massage, get a facial, whatever, you know, allow yourself to enjoy it like I enjoyed it. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
that makes sense in general, that that reading could pop up because so many people aren't taking care of themselves. So yeah.
mhm.
Wow.
But this horse was like this confident animal that
Huh?
understood her beauty, that enjoyed being groomed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm worth it. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There
Wow.
was a hair color commercial years ago. I'm worth it.
Yes,
That's
there
really old, but anyway.
I do remember that.
It was kind of that thing. Look at me, I'm worth
Yeah.
it. So
I can picture
some
it in my mind too. That's very cool.
yeah, sometimes I get songs like, maybe it's relating things that I understand, which I was giving you a song, but
I know you were, so we'll segue into that. So if you follow me, like I think I said that I have three Shih Tzus. So I asked Kathleen to read My Baby Miracle. She is our youngest Shih Tzu. She is 9, and we the story of Baby Miracle is out there, but I'll just say it really quick. It was Christmas time 9 years ago, and my husband desperately wanted a third dog. We already had two. And
mm,
because I love my husband so much, I believed him and went for it when he said, "Oh, look at this dog I found on the Craigslist in the fishing section."
mhm.
Right, I don't know about that. So, anywho, but it was this black, teeny tiny, scruffy, actually looked kind of like sad, like the hair and everything, little black dog. And the owner was trying to find a good home for it because he had to go back to Afghanistan and his girlfriend didn't want it. And we didn't have any money. So her name is Baby Miracle because we really had no room at the inn, but
Mhm.
we ended up taking her in because he couldn't find anyone else that he felt was going to be suitable. and we gave him a little bit of money that we had. We couldn't give him the full asking price because we just didn't have the money. And he took it, and we said, we'll give you a fishing trip next time you're back in the United States. And, we'd never heard from him, but we would obviously still honor that because my husband still is fishing. And so we have baby Miracle, and she
Mm-hmm.
has been an interesting dog. But she's my little heart dog. So I was curious, even though she's alive, Kathleen can pull messages from, an animal that's alive, and it's fascinating to hear. So I will toss it to you to share about the song that you heard when we started talking about baby Miracle.
Well, it was You Are So Beautiful to Me. And I'm trying to remember the singer with the raspy voice that sings it. But you're everything I hope for. You're everything I need. And, all those lyrics were coming to mind. And that she truly sees your beauty and didn't have a lot of advice, but was picking it up on I could see her husband with the salt and pepper hair. And she's like, sometimes I miss him. So,
Yeah.
but really loving you and appreciate that connection, and would love to have you all to herself. Besides, and not share with the other two dogs.
So it was so funny because I learned, because of Miracle's temperament, that if I hold her facing me and we look eye to eye, that calms her down. And so we have like a little eyeball stare off every day. So
I can hear that song playing in the background.
Yeah, so actually I can. That's why it's so funny. And she just like looks at me with her sweet face. That's why people don't realize that she's so temperamental, because she has such a sweet face 75% of the time. And then she definitely likes to be left alone. She could easily be the only dog. And anyone that ever sees my 3 dogs interact is always like, oh, Miracle could definitely be very happy all by herself. And I'm like, oh yes, she could be.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that, I wrote down what you said, I don't want to be bothered, leave me alone. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
So,
I can't be bothered with those two.
I can't be bothered with those 2. And you said, are your other 2 dogs more energetic? I'm like, yes, they are. And so she likes her peace and quiet, and her time with her parents away from her 2 sisters. She relishes it. So she likes to go on car rides by herself. I often post pictures of Miracle in my Instagram and Facebook stories where she's on a little car ride just by herself, even if it's just going to McDonald's or, going to the post office. She likes to go by herself in the car. So, So
that sounds about right.
Yep. She just wants to be by herself. And then my husband, Ryan, fishes. So he's gone for long periods of time, day trips, not overnight, but days. So you can often see the excitement in her face when he comes back. So he'll be excited to hear that she misses him when he's gone, which is really cute.
Yes. And I didn't look at your profile, so I didn't know what he looked, or at least not the old photos. I didn't know what he looked like exactly. But
Ryan has salt and pepper sideburns and kind of salt and pepper hair in general, but definitely his sideburns, which is what you had picked up on. So
there's this guy with the sideburns, the white sideburns. But I mean, there's an important message too I want to convey from, you may say, the animal spirit world to your audience.
Uh-huh.
And it has to do with something I run across a lot, is the grief that people go through when they've lost their animals.
Mm-hmm.
And, did I do right by them? Should I have euthanized them when I did? Should I have done it sooner? Should I have done it later?
Like a guilt.
There's a lot of broken hearts in the world of people who have lost their animals that they've had this, unconditional love with. And I just want them to know that they still love you unconditionally, and there's none of that. And it's okay to let go of that. And I've done a lot of work in that area, and, people crying happy tears, getting messages. And I find that really rewarding because, they're not up there going, or they're still around us basically. And they're not going, hey, what did you do that for? You should have taken me to the veterinarian sooner.
Yeah.
There's none of that. It's just pure love and positive and uplifting messages. And that's what my book is going to be about. And to stop beating yourself up,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
that happens because, they're so dependent on us, feeding them and taking them to the veterinarian and everything. And, it's so easy to second guess ourselves after they've passed away. It's kind of part of the grieving process. So one of my courses that I'm coming out with is healing animal grief.
Wow.
So, but that's a really important message. And I think with the pandemic, a lot of people have really turned to their animals. There's been a lot more adoptions going on, and because the stress relief and having something to hold on to and talk to and everything. And I think when people lose them nowadays, it can be really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
wanted to pass that along.
yeah, no, and I appreciate that, because I was going to ask about that, because there are people that, you even hear stories where they lose a pet and then they don't want to get another one because it was so heartbreaking or painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have advice for people like that? I know so many people like that.
No, don't close your heart. And I don't know. There's theories on animals, even souls coming back, and those types of things. Believe it or not, and for those of us who are spiritual, um, so can they send us another one?
Yeah.
And yes, so you want to keep your heart open. Um, don't give up. Don't shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they all teach us lessons. When my corgi passed away in July, I lost 2 dogs this year,
Oh.
but I wrote, life lessons from a corgi.
Huh?
And I was writing down the stuff she taught me, because they teach us things. And it was, don't take any crap from anyone.
That's awesome.
That was like the first one, because she didn't,
Uh-huh.
and go bounding through the snow and the puddles, and live in the moment. And I have a whole list of her messages for me about life.
Oh, wow.
And we can, have another animal that comes into our life that can have other messages. I had a 17-year-old terrier that passed away a couple of weeks ago, 2 days before Thanksgiving. And then I was jotting down her life lessons to me
Uh-huh.
about loyalty and perseverance. She was 17 years old and she had been a rescue. And, she was a fighter. She had various issues over the years, but kept hanging in there. And finally, I had to euthanize her in the end, because she started having seizures. And, you have to get to that point where quality of life and, setting their soul free, to so to speak. But again, she had messages as well. So they all have unique life lessons. And if we tap into our intuition, we can come up with a list of what they are. So
Yeah,
that's part of what I'm teaching in the healing process.
that's cool. So that's going to be one of your courses that you're coming out with?
Yep. Yeah. And it's, healing animal grief, and also helping people to connect intuitively to their animals. So
Mm-hmm.
getting into the animal communication, but we want to um, heal the emotional stuff first, because that can kind of cloud things and block things. So, if we're feeling too emotional, and it can be just harder to get the message.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the first phase of the Animal Angel Academy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what is the title of your book? I know you told me before, so I just wanted to ask you
Which
it.
isn't published yet, but it's
Okay.
Animals as Angels and Guides. And
Oh, it's
it's
beautiful.
all the uplifting stories from animals. And as I said, don't don't let losing one shut you down, because there's so many more wonderful ones out there
Right.
that have messages to share and love to give you. And it's inspirational
Yeah.
to
And this
pick
is,
up on the,
yeah. And this is random and maybe a stupid question, but do you feel all animals have souls and this capability? So let's say even like a hamster or,
yes,
wow.
yes.
Hmm.
And there are, Anna Breitenbach, who's down in, I don't know if you've heard of her, she's down in Africa. She works more with wild animals,
Okay.
and helping humans get along with the wild animals down there in Africa, and the animals that are going into um, refuges or whatever. And it's, some of her work is really interesting, but she's focusing on, on the wild animals.
Okay.
But she has, I'll just send you a video on that because she's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I mean, even she's even connecting with the sharks in the water and what the sharks have to say about trying to live with humans.
Wow. Huh. Yeah. My
Yeah.
husband would be interested in that one for sure. So
Yes, because you're in Florida.
yeah. And he deals with lots of sharks. So that would be very fascinating. Huh.
Yes, it is. So yes, all the animals.
Yeah, that's cool. When do you think your book is going to come out? I know things change, but just approximate.
Oh my gosh, that's a good question.
Ah, hold you.
Maybe in a few months. In a few months, I suppose. I'm kind of compiling some stories,
Okay.
but it's like an animal medium shares uplifting messages from animals.
Yeah.
So
That's
don't give up, people. Be
yeah.
like me. Have a menagerie.
Have a menagerie. Yeah. You do. I like you wrote you have a goat, 3 dogs,
Yep.
a cat, and a horse.
Hmm.
Hmm.
They have a goat named Duff, and he's much like a dog, really. So,
Oh wow.
he comes to me, and he likes to block the door so I can't get in the house. Like, you're not leaving me. You have to stay out here, or let me come in the house.
Oh
One
my
or the other.
wow. Yeah, I've heard some goat stories over the years. They're definitely have their personalities. It's very fascinating.
Yep, and they're all different, just like dogs.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Just like how I was telling you, my 3 dogs are very different. So it's
Mhm.
very interesting. And I never thought of it. So I family pets growing up, but not that I would ever have considered my own pet until my husband and I moved to Florida, and our goal was to get 2 Shih Tzus, which we did, and now we have 3. But I never thought about their personalities. That's what has been fascinating in the whole process is I just thought, oh, we're just going to get, 2 little cute dogs and that's it, like just thought of them just as little dogs and not really realizing their personalities. So it's been an eye-opening experience and quite fascinating. So you're right. I'll be very curious to read your book and hear some of the other stories from everyone else. So
Mhm.
very cool. So how can everyone get hold of you and connect with you?
My website is mustangmindset.com.
Awesome.
That came from the Mustangs that I had. Mustangmindset.com. I also have a Facebook group called Spirit Animal Collective,
Okay.
so they can join me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate my reading about Baby Miracle. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna go give her a hug right after this. So
Yeah,
that's so awesome. But thank you so much. I
you're very,
appreciate it. It's great connecting with you.
very welcome. Great talking with you as well.
Very cool. Thanks.
Mhm.